Hello and welcome to the video. This is about this thing here. This looks like a model that I've already reviewed on the channel, but it's not. This is the updated version of the ZOHD called the ZOHD Orbit Neon. And the reason it's called Neon is, although it looks identical with a couple of very minor changes to the original Orbit that I'm a huge fan of, this one has LED lights inside, and if you look at it at night time, it looks absolutely amazing with a bright headlight on the front, some white LED strips underneath, and both a green and red LED strip embedded into the wings. So this is an Orbit that you can not only fly in the daytime but fly at dusk and in lower light conditions as well. Now this is a little bit more expensive than the classic Orbit wing. It's still a 900mm wingspan, length is about 422mm, the motors are 2204 1870 kV motor with a 30 amp ESC with a 5V 1 amp BEC. In the flying I've done here, the motor and ESC are not even getting warm, which is good. A couple of 8-gram digital servos out in the wing. The prop is a 6x3-inch prop. The wing loading is really light. It has a very wide speed envelope, 25 to 100 plus kilometers. I tend to fly around at 50% throttle. The only other thing that's changed from the original Orbit is the stabilizer has been tweaked a little bit to give improved flying characteristics. The footage that I've got to show you this in action is in the daytime, and it is in quite windy conditions. I'm going to stall the wing intentionally to see how the stabilizer recovers it. The control surfaces are all controlled from inside the main body, and there's a little power connector on the end that's going to run the LEDs. The assembly of the model is exactly the same, with the exception of that little additional power plug as the original ZOHD Orbit. All you have to do is take off the canopy to make sure that you're not pinching any wires and slide the carbon fiber through. Now you can see the stabilizer inside here. We're going to have to wire that up. There's also two JST leads at the back of the XT60 plug that powers either the headlight and also powers all the rest of the LEDs. Now, in addition to having the headlight, there are two additional canopies that allow you to mount FPV equipment, and then they have the LED strips below. They seem to be sealed, CG marks again, which is really nice. I like the fact that there's the two GST plugs, because that means when you're not using the headlamp and you want to run FPV, you have access to the power system to run your FPV transmitter that can plug into the camera. So with the spar in place, just push it through, the wings are going to snap on. You don't need any glue, and this is one of the really cool things about this. You can just take it to the field in pieces and snap it together, and also if you have a nasty crash, some of the energy is absorbed by the wings popping out. Usually run it on something like the smaller battery here, which is useful for center of gravity, but I found that running it on a Turnigy Nanotech 2200 45 to 90C battery gives perfect CG. So I would recommend using something like that, because that will also give you over 40 minutes of flight time. Plugging the battery in, you can see how the LEDs in the wing light everything up, and the big white lights at the bottom. In the daytime, you can't really see this, but at night time it does an amazing job of lighting up the wings, and you can see that kind of hollow cell construction which ZOHD use on the Orbit, which is one of the reasons why it's such a light model and behaves so nicely. This isn't solid foam out here at the wing. So the setup is identical to the other ZOHD Orbit wing, so I refer you to that one if you want to know how to set yours up. But the other thing I was interested in is how much power do these LEDs actually pull, because it's going to affect your flight time, and there's quite a few LEDs out here under the body and in the wings. And in the testing that I've done here with my watt meter, just trying to figure it all out, apologies, can't quite read the watt meter because the LEDs are too bright. If I zoom in, you can hopefully see here that it's pulling about 0.6 of an amp, about 650 milliamps with all the LEDs turned on, and that isn't too bad at all. If you do fly with the LEDs on, it is going to affect your flight time, but not to a ridiculous degree. So to launch it, after all my tests, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop the throttle about 70%. Again, this is a relatively windy day here. Normally I'd like to do these kind of videos on a slightly calmer day, but it's a perfect opportunity to see how good the stabilizer is. So pop the throttle at 70%, which I've done on my checks, put it into launch mode and give it a good chuck, and off it goes. The plane climbs into the air with the wings level, and as soon as you're ready, then just flick the switch so it drops into stabilize mode and you can poodle about. Now, in the bright sunshine like I'm flying in now, the only thing you can really see is the headlight. And one of the things that I've done on mine here is I've added a little radio controlled switch so I can turn the lights in the body on and off. So that gives me the option to leave everything kind of powered, and if I want flying and maybe the light starts to fade, I can just flick a switch on the transmitter and it'll all work. The stabilizer is doing a really good job with the amount of buffeting it's getting, and in a minute you'll see me do some kind of stalls where I go and pull the nose right up, and as soon as the plane noses over, the stall characteristics on these wings is really gentle. The stabilizer will rescue it and bring it around. Because the stabilizer is doing that work, and I've got this on reasonably low rates as well, I haven't got it set on hooligan mode, but I can still get it to loop and roll around. But the stabilizer is giving me an awful lot of confidence, and this is why the Orbit is one of my picks for the perfect beginner wing. If you're trying to get the hang of wings and you maybe have tried it and it's just too twitchy for you, then having something like the Orbit in stabilizer mode just gives you that additional confidence and allows you to have good play. You have got the manual mode that you can flick into, and that will allow you to access the full capability of the wing. But I'm flying around here about 50% throttle, and that's comfortably giving me about 40 minutes of flight time off that 2200 mAh battery. Now, if I had the LEDs on at night, I'm getting a little bit less. I'd probably reduce the timer to about 35 minutes. But that's a very respectable amount of flight time for a wing like this. So in summary, what do I think? Well, for those of you that watched the original Orbit review, you'll know that I am a huge fan of the Orbit. It's one of my favourite wings, and it's one that I recommend to pilots who want to try wing flying but are maybe very nervous. This latest version with the stabilizer is even easier to fly, if you didn't think that was actually possible. And with the LED lights, this is one of those models that you could just fly around in pretty much all conditions. It would have been nice to have a spare prop in the bag. The screw-on prop is not something I'm a huge fan of. That's the only downside I can see on this model. It would have been nice to have a spare one in the box in case you do break it. But if you are interested in learning to fly wings, and you like the idea of flying at dusk with all the LEDs turned on to impress your mates, this is probably the wing for you. Thanks for watching the video and watching right to the very end. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you like the video and like what I'm doing here, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon too. If you really like what I'm doing, you can go the extra mile and become one of my Patreons for access to me directly for support, and also giveaways and regular updates too. If you're looking for particular content, then check out the playlist. I organise all of my videos into playlists, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can find everything here. If it's called Introduction To, it's designed to start very simply and build on that simple introduction to teach you all about it. If it's called For Beginners, then that is really aimed at people who are brand new to that part of the hobby. You can also search on YouTube for anything that you're interested in using the search function at the top. So iNav Painless 360 will find all of my videos and even the playlists around iNav. So thanks again for watching, and happy flying.